No,
The sickness going.
oh, yeah. Sure.
All right, it is 5:30. I will call the regular council meeting. December 23rd to order. Roll call. Darla.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Beauregard.
Here.
Kramer. Grams. Here. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the items that are?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll support.
Motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next up is the guest and citizens forum. Anything one would like to bring up? No? All right, we'll go on to reports from staff. City Administrator Lanning.
The only thing I had tonight is I would like to thank City Attorney Mitch Brunfeld. He is sailing off into retirement mid-sunset, so thank you for your years of service with this city and with all the cities across the range.
All right, we don't have any.
Who will be his replacement?
Joel Wood. City Attorney Brunfeld, anything you'd like to report other than agenda items?
Nothing to report, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Becky. I appreciate that. And truly been a pleasure to work with everybody over the years. I mean, Hoyt Lakes is just a wonderful community and served with as a city attorney with some obviously great, very community-minded mayors and city councilors, and city has a fantastic group of employees, and really been an honor to serve the city over these years. So appreciate it and wish everybody happy holidays.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Enjoy, and we'll welcome Joel Lewicki as our new attorney in the coming year. Reports from elected officials, Councilor Borger.
Nothing too big here, but my last council meeting, I'd like to thank all who voted me onto the council 2 years ago. And thank the city staff for being helpful and friendly when I had questions. I've learned many things about municipal government over the years. It's been enjoyable to work on solving some of the issues our community faces. I encourage others that are interested in city government to take the leap and get involved. And I'd like to wish the new council good luck on taking over in January.
Thank you, Stuart. Councilor Scott.
Nothing to me.
Councilor Darvilla.
Nothing.
And I also was just gonna thank Mitch for all his service to us over the years, and also welcome in our new mayor and council. This is my last meeting as mayor, but I will continue on as a council member, so we'll have some reassignments of seats and duties, and welcome the new people onto our council and see how 2005 goes. Be a new year, and hopefully we'll get some progress. One other thing I would like to just add, I know a lot of times in the public, I just want to remind people that our administrator, they don't make the decisions, or they don't make the rules and policies. They just enforce them on behalf of the council. Prior councils and our current council, we're the ones who make these rules. We're the ones who change these ordinances and vote for them. So when there is an issue about something, it's the council, it's all of us you have to come to and talk to. Our administrator just enforces those on our behalf. So that's just something I'd like to remind the public, that let our counselors know if you have issues. We certainly would, we've changed ordinances, we've reviewed policies, and we can continue to do that and work with the people of the town, but we need your input, and just to know that it's our call, that why these ordinances are in place. And with that, we'll move on to old business. Do we have any old business? Nothing on the agenda. New business, 11.1. We're on Intertech change order request for the Whitnick's Wellness Center. Matt for that.
Is this on?
No.
It doesn't need to be on? Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. Matt Reed with SEH. I spoke with our lead architect earlier today, regarding this change order, try to get some background on what was going on there. In a nutshell, throughout the course of last summer, we spent a fairly excessive amount of time trying to get this project through the state review process, and we finally got it through. Took a lot longer than anybody expected. Long and the short of it, as the results came through on what the state would like to see as far as special inspections testing, we had accounted for what we typically see on, when I say we, Ron Intertech, had accounted for what they typically see on these types of projects. Sounds like from what I'm understanding, there's a lot of additional requirements that we don't typically see. Why? Because the state reviewer wants some additional inspections done on, I don't know if they're changing policies, changing the way they do things, I don't know. Long and the short of it, it wasn't, some of these additional services, primarily on the water barrier, they weren't included in the original proposal from Ron, would have been, had they would have known that we had to do that, just the timing of everything, their proposal came in prior to the final state review being there and all of that, so it wouldn't have been in there as a change order, it would have been in there as a regular contracted item, had the timing been a little bit different and everything, so fortunately now it shows up as a change order, but it's just to cover those costs. That all said, I know we were working with Max Gray, the contractor, as well as Ron Intertech to try to coordinate some of this stuff so that we can limit the number of site visits they need to make and things like that, hopefully not have to spend all of this. Can't promise that, but if that a lot of that depends on the timing of the construction, but we're trying to see if we can make that happen. So I can try to answer any more questions if anybody has any. That's the explanation of why, the change order is being requested at this time.
So the state, you're telling us the state is the one that mandated that this air barrier chest nose. Is this supposed to be like for a blower door, pressurize the building and check for leaks, or what exactly is going to happen? I mean, I'm looking at it at $8,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I came from the construction industry before, and that's a chunk of money to miss. And expect the customer to pay it. I understand how rule changes can cause something like this, but what exactly is this test going to involve that we have to pay $8,000?
Fair question. Mayor, can I answer?
Yes.
I don't exactly know all of the intricacies of the test. Chad would know better. I apologize for that, but yes, to answer your question, yes, this came from the state. There are some additional requirements that they're asking for that we don't typically see. So, I don't know why.
Would it behoove you to ask them why this?
I can ask Chad to ask them. They've been around and around and around on this whole review. To be honest with you, it was an excessively long review process that we still are not. We did a lot of upfront work with the state last spring to try to expedite the review process. For whatever reason, it actually drug no longer. So I don't know why. It was just in the particular reviewer that we had or whatever. But as I said, it had the timing of all of this been, it wouldn't have been $8,000 extra, it would have been $8,000 included in Ron's original proposal. So it would have still been the same amount, it just would have been, it wouldn't have come through as a change order after the fact.
Well, the email currently says that part of this may be able to be covered by the original testing of,
Yeah.
8,000.
Yeah.
How much of that would be covered by that original $18,000?
Yeah, if we can, that's what I was referring to, if we can combine some of the trips for them to come up here, if we can work to have some of the other tests done concurrently, so it's
if they're not coming on site so many times, that would reduce, I don't know how much it's going to be.
So this includes a trip for how many people from the cities to here?
One,
Okay,
I'm assuming. I'll look quick and see if I can see it on this proposal. Yeah. Probably one. Yeah,
Senior consultant, 4 hours.
pardon me?
Senior consultant, 4 hours.
Yeah, yes, that's,
well, that's the trip up here alone is.
the mold charge is the,
Well, there's one up higher too, so.
Yeah.
4 hours for the lower one and then
And
6
6
hours for the other one, and then there's a principal consultant, which is another 4 hours.
yeah, so what they're saying in that proposal is the mobilization charge, which is the trip charge, which is for the technician, they're anticipating 3 trips up. At $1,000 a piece. That includes the person coming as well. So we're hoping we can at least reduce that down to 2. That was one of the things that they're trying to do. And then we're looking at some of the other some of the other testing that we were planning on having them do as part of the original proposal primarily under the bituminous and some of the other stuff where we can possibly shave some of that off and reduce some of that.
Well, that would make sense if they can cut a trip or 2.
Yeah.
The mileage and the cost. Is there any way of finding out what exactly this air barrier test entails? I
Certainly,
mean, if you can get that info and send it to Becky.
Yep.
She can disseminate that.
sure.
I really, I mean, I'm only one person, but, you know, if I look at something like that, and it's somebody either missed something.
So I think in Chad's response, he said,
Well, it's state rules. What
yeah.
I'm saying, if that stuff happens.
Yeah, the plan reviewer insisted on having special inspections for the water barrier system. Typically in the past, it's been one quick inspection on site to make sure the installed product went on thick enough. Here they want, well, not only that product, but the under slab and under roof vapor barriers tested too.
Is there a radon mitigation system in there too?
I don't know.
Okay.
So this ASHRAE is the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers. And they develop standards and guidelines to basically seal you, make sure you have good quality air inside the building and make sure you're not losing heat efficiency and insulation.
Correct.
So they're requesting this to be part of the new building or the entire facility,
The new building.
The new building,
just the new portion with the new X plant. Right?
yes.
And they're talking about this, barrier, so it's more in the roof. Or is it?
No, it's actually on the,
The floor.
Under slab.
on the walls, on the under slabs. Yeah.
So does it potentially have to do with if there's a, like a freon leak, coolant leak? That
Possibly.
can stay contained within the building?
Sorry, I'm not being much help with that one. I have to get more information on that. That's not my area of expertise, but I apologize. But I'll get you an answer on that. And I will try to see if I can get exact, like what that test entails and what things. Yep.
So just kind of for what you're saying, this inspection was kind of mandated or required from the state.
Yeah, we'll have to submit, and they're actually looking for some additional reporting on that as well, which will ultimately be submitted to them, of course.
And so based on that, it's not just something that really needs to be done, the state is just requiring you to do.
Yes, correct.
If not, then do you happen to know what the punishments or whatever may be?
Potentially linked to our funding, that they would give us the funding, basically.
Yeah, we wouldn't get that $1.7 million funding, probably not the.
So the gist of it
Required
is that we're
vesting.
just, we have
So
to.
you won't approve it if it's not done.
Right.
Yeah.
Be interesting to find out if this was a recent change in codes or somebody, like I said earlier, somebody from the state actually missed this. And decided to throw it back in your lap.
If I had to guess, just from what I'm hearing, this particular inspector was gonna be just a little more picky than others have been in the past. Maybe to say that as professionally and nicely as I could. I think that's what I'm seeing.
Are you aware of any incident that caused contamination or anything that they would be more on alert with this?
Not that I'm aware of, no, Chad does, our architect, he does quite a few projects like this, with this type of testing. So usually, like, as Becky read in the message, he usually doesn't see this extreme need. So maybe back to your point, what is the need, or does the test for? Is there other parts of it that we're not, that aren't normal, I guess? I'll get that information.
Thank you.
Yes.
So is the consensus, you wanna wait for more information, or is it something that we have to approve to keep the project going? I mean, it's required either way, it sounds like,
And then Matt can send the information to me and we'll forward it on.
Is that something you're comfortable with, Dave? Approving, like getting that information, or?
I think we'd be better off waiting. I mean, we're only a couple weeks away from our next meeting anyway.
When do the inspections need to take place?
Right.
Is the
Last week.
building's up?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you asked some of the questions I was gonna ask as well about what's considered, you know, what's it testing for? What's, it says the cost could be included, what was that? And you stated, you know, lessening the visits, combining things. But it is required by state, you can't get this plan approved. We have to do it regardless of why it was missed or why it wasn't missed, it's not an optional thing.
And I don't think they're gonna roll it back if we ask questions about it. They're just gonna tell us, no, you're gonna do it anyways.
Yeah, so while I would like to know exactly, you know, why it's required now, it does sound like it has to be done regardless of the whys or who missed it or why they missed it. So I'd like to keep the project going and approve the change order in the meantime. And like you said, hopefully cut down some of these costs as we go by combining their visits.
There is still contingency in the budget to cover this, so.
Yeah, approving now, we still have those discussions.
Yeah.
Regarding.
If I can get it on the next agenda too, and, or email out, and then if there's still questions. we can put it on.
Yeah, that their explanation would be nice directly from this reviewer. But yeah, I think we should keep it moving while we wait for those answers.
This is gonna hold up work if it gets postponed till the next meeting.
Pardon me?
This will hold up work if it's postponed. I would make the motion to approve the paper.
Been a motion, is there support? I'll support that, and then if, yeah, Becky, you can share the information with us when you get it. All right, we've got a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Question. When will the payment have to be made for that?
The bill after services rendered.
So we're not paying this out now,
So
we're
we're
gonna
not-
be after.
We're not required to pay this now.
No,
Hopefully, we'll have the explanation by the
yes,
next meeting.
and hopefully it'll be less, so they'll invoice us for the work that they perform.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you for explaining some of that,
I'll
Matt.
follow up with the information
Okay.
you requested, yeah.
11.2 golf course clubhouse agreement.
We received one RFP for the clubhouse agreement. And I met with Jenna and she requested a similar contract to what the previous clubhouse manager Dan Barrow had, $500 more per year. She has some really, really great ideas and I'm really excited to see what she comes up with. We did have some conversations about, you know, we have to have licenses if we show movies and that kind of stuff. But it sounds like she's willing to work with the library or pay for those licenses, and she has some really, really great ideas for bringing a more family-centered golf experience, so that's exciting to see. So I would recommend that you approve the clubhouse agreement as presented.
So it says you were paid there 14.5 and 2024.
Yeah.
Does that include the extra we added to cover?
That is, yeah.
To cover employee,
Employees do.
Yeah.
Green fees.
and the payment structure is similar, I know when I met with Jenna too, she had some really good ideas, and she knew she couldn't do everything all at once, but she has some things she wants to start, and the pay structure is basically the same, you hold the bigger payment till the end, just to make sure they, you know, continue
Yeah, the one change is she did request a payment in January, so she can get her liquor license and her insurance and stuff paid prior to the city.
So she's already seen this pay schedule and things back.
Is everything out of the clubhouse for the kitchen for her to use?
It's
So,
still like.
Some of it is for her to use, some of it's owned by the city and some of it's owned by Dan Darrow. This is Dan's daughter. And so-
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, she'll take.
The reason I'm asking that is I know he had sold some stuff off with prior retirement.
He did 2 years ago and then he ended up buying a lot of it back.
Got it all
Last
again
year.
last
And
year.
he's been holding off selling it until he found out about this.
Yeah.
Season pass holder.
He's got.
I don't know the golf team.
Are there any other questions about her proposal?
My only question was this enough startup money for her? And if she
Yes.
already approved it, then.
That's the amount she requested, so.
Yeah, it's the write-up, you seem really excited about it, considering that family for dad and ask a lot of JRS questions or whatever. Nice to get new person in this.
Yeah, if there's no other questions, is there a motion to approve her proposal?
I'll make that motion.
The support.
If there's been a motion and support, all those in favor?
I,
Motion carried. I'm excited to see how she starts off out there. It'll be nice. 11.3 League of Minnesota Cities Liability Coverage Waiver, which is their standard document, right?
Yep, every local government unit has to submit this waiver form. We do not waive statutory limits, and so I would just be looking for a motion to not waive statutory limits.
Yeah, I will make that motion. For many years in different entities, and it's just a standard form we have to sign, so I make that motion.
All support.
Been a motion and support, all those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Motion carried. 11.4 utility customer request. Say the whole council, do I? Okay, there's a utility request, for a reimbursement, it looks like.
So you've received information via email and in your packet regarding this utility request. I believe that there are two main requests. The first one is to refund this utility customer, and then the second one is to enter into a payment plan with the utility customer.
I guess, one thing I noticed was in her email, it said something about just paying only the water portion of the bill, but we don't separate the bill, right? Like if you're behind on one, it's whole bill as a whole, like we can't just say, oh, just pay the water part and not the garbage and sewer part, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we enforce water shutoffs with the entire bill. And so when you know, if you were gonna come down and pay us $100, that would be split evenly among the three services. You couldn't come in and say, I want $100 just for my water service.
To keep that service going, yeah, okay. Just wanted to clarify that, I thought there was a mention of that.
And then shutting off water is kind of the city's leverage of getting back pay.
Correct.
So it doesn't just apply to water, it applies to all the standing balances to the city.
I know there was a question of legality, shutting off water doesn't fall under the cold weather acts, I mean, that's heat and natural gas, but it doesn't. Cutting off water is not a violation of any Minnesota.
No, the cold weather rule applies to heating sources, which would be electricity and natural gas. Propane in certain instances, but water does not arrive to your property warm. It has to be heated through a second source. So water is not considered a heating utility.
The city's team.
Wow.
You know that. Few items in the email, lack of notification, looked like there was notification sent via mail in August.
That is correct. Everyone receives a red delinquency notice when their water is ready to be shut off. And they receive that notice and that they have to contact the clerk's office if they'd like to set up a payment plan or contest their bill if something was wrong on their bill. Typically, if you're gonna enter into a payment plan, it has the date and time you need to contact the clerk's office by to enter into that payment plan. And then once you enter into that payment plan, I notify the residents who enter into that payment plan that they're required to pay in full prior to the last business day of each month, or their water will be shut off without any additional notice. And so that is part of the payment plan arrangement, is that if you miss one of those payment plans, we are gonna shut off that water and ask for the whole past due balance to be paid to us, including fees. And so, that again is part of that contract that says, if you're going to enter into this payment plan, you know, either you're gonna have to follow through. It would be the same under the cold weather rule. For a heating utility, you do have to make payment arrangements and you do have to make them on time, otherwise they do shut you off. And so I believe that there have been 12 people who have entered into payment arrangements with the city since the council issued authority for me to do so. 4 of those have been turned off as they did not make those payments. All 4 of those people did come in and pay in full to get their water turned back on. 7 of them are paid in full and are back on track, and then 1 of them is still current, making payments timely.
Yeah, so this isn't any, it's not a case by case basis, this is the same process we take for everyone, it's not, we don't change it.
We made an exception for one, who opened such a big can of worms.
Correct.
You know, everybody else over those things. Oh, I want this part, I want that part.
Yeah, I know, you know, when there has been talk of like, you know, being lenient or changing, you know, the ordinances or the rules, you know, in certain situations, but when you start doing that, like you said, Dave, it's just a can of worms. I mean, the best option is to follow the ordinance and the rules as they've been approved for everyone, otherwise you're just,
And they've agreed to that already
yeah.
with the payment plan.
Correct.
And this has been the same process for a number of years. Well, the only difference is in the last 2 years, the council has given authority to you to create these contracts versus having to come to the council.
Yep, they used to come to the city council and it used to be an actual contract document that would lay out the payments. With the new software, it allows us to do that on the computer rather than tracking it manually. And so, when we came across that feature, we requested it. So the council issued authority for me to enter into payment plans for up to 18 months. What we were finding with those paper contracts that people had to come down and sign is they wouldn't come down and sign them. So then they got their water shut off because they did not sign the payment plan. And so, I've kind of allowed people to enter into them verbally with me or over email, just making sure that they understand the rules. I always note that in their file, that we went over the rules of the payment plan, but we don't have them sign a contract anymore because so many people were just getting shut off because they never signed the contract.
No, it's a 2-week, at minimum 2-week wait time, if the council has to read on.
Correct. Yep.
There's also a statement about payment options, run through payment options, quick.
So the city as a whole accepts cash, check, and card. We accept card payments, cash, and check here at City Hall. We accept cash and check in the Dropbox to the north of City Hall. We accept, debit, so like, you can put in your check number, card on PSN online, and they will also accept that over the phone through PSN. And so people are issued their utility bill. We aim for by the 3rd day of the month, and they have until the last business day to pay it. And so, you know, last month, if it was issued the 3rd, which I'm pretty sure we ran them on the 1st, but even if it was the 3rd, the last business day of the month would be the day before Thanksgiving, and that's, you know, 20 days opportunity to pay. And we are a non-metered city, so you know exactly what your bill will be every month.
And how many missed months until you get a notice of shut off?
2,
So on your 3rd month, you would.
yeah, on the 3rd billing, so you miss 2 payments, and then on the first billing, first of the month billing, then you get your
So if
notice.
you don't pay January, February, on your March
Bill, you'll get a
bill,
bill,
it's gonna say you have a notice, if it's not paid by the
It's the third Tuesday
Of the month.
depending on holidays.
Yeah. So I know even if it falls on a weekend or a holiday, you can still set up that payment online.
Yep.
For a specific date, or
Yep.
pay, I mean, you can set it up on Friday, if it was Saturday or Sunday that was due. That would have to come by Friday and.
Yep.
Pay it.
Yep, you can also set up an automatic payment, online or with your bank. We do recommend that if you set it up through PSN, you set it up for between the 10th and the 20th. If you set it up for the first, sometimes we haven't done billing yet, so if you set it up so it pulls your current balance due, you'll get pulled $0 and then you'll be late. If you set it up for the last day, sometimes we don't receive it due to bank processing times until after the first of the next month. So we just recommend those 10 days in the middle of the month are pretty safe.
So I thought my bank was sending it too late, and for 2 months I got a late charge because my bank was, it took so long to get the check, yeah, so I had to adjust that.
The next point was the need for oversight, just that the council would have given you the ability to do these contracts. This is kind of the oversight, you can bring it to the council and we can discuss it. After the fact, or during it, or before you get to the contract, is stupid, you can get on the council fast enough. So I mean, this is the oversight, and we're discussing it now. And then the last part was the cold weather. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, I mean, people struggle, I was a single mom for years, I struggled, I've been in a position to receive help and to give people help, myself. So we do understand that things happen and there are, you know, months or years that you struggle, and that's why we do offer up to an 18-month payment plan, so you can have that time to spread it out, so it is an amount you can afford.
The more you can get proactive, I think the better. You know that it's gonna be a hard month to pay your bill, I think it's easier to get ahead of it before you have to put the notices or shut off, and things like that. I encourage people to have those conversations prior.
And even though we have a process set up now, I think, we're all open to ideas, suggestions that anybody in the team might have to making changes. And then turning off water, I don't think it brings anyone joy to shut off water. Just want to make sure that everyone's treated equally and paying for a service.
That is the city's recompense for non-payment. When you see a bill of this amount, this isn't something that happened in 1 month. This $1,400 built up for utility bills. Took time to build that total up. This was not something that happened in 1 month.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Brendan, there are changes that can be made. We did make the change from having to come in and sign the paper contract and track it. You know, we decided, go ahead and make that payment plan, or right away, we don't have to get our approval, make that payment plan and get them set up so they don't fall any farther behind. That change was made. There's certainly talk that we could come up with other ideas or plans if we needed to, but I mean, so far, I think we have 7 that successfully did a plan this year. You know, that seem to be working for the majority of people. So I don't have any suggestions for any change right now. I think the system we have has been working. We've cut down a lot on our past due utility bills in the last few years. We used to be thousands and thousands in arrears from people. It's gotten a lot better and has helped the budget with, you know, you're not passing this beyond other people from the ones who don't pay. Someone has to pay it, so it's gonna be passed on to the rest of the community by raising rates if it's not paid.
Tens of thousands. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes,
Tens of thousands,
it was,
yeah.
over $80,000. So that's a full-time employee salary.
And then we write that off every year, basically.
Yeah, you try to collect it as best you could. We're now down to less than $5,000 when we have a shut off list, so and all of them paid. So it's been difficult to get here. you know, it's been difficult for me to get here, but I think that it's truly best for the city to ensure that those payments are made because the services were utilized. So unfortunately, that's where we're at.
I guess the request for three things, if we want to do this quick. First request was refund of payment minus the water portion. You guess that first one. I would think make the motion to refund that payment, but
I don't think it should be done.
Then paid in full as, you know, per the contract and the payment plan terms, I don't see where refunding that is gonna
All you're gonna do
justify anything.
is that money gonna be owed back then?
Yep,
Because it's owed
Right.
right now,
yeah,
so why refund it if it's gonna be owed back?
yeah, it'll just be an outstanding balance,
Yeah.
yeah.
so then the second portion was a payment plan for that refund balance, which we're not refunding it, and that's a no for that one as well. And the last request was crediting the shut off fees. So. They charge $100 for shutting it off and $100 for turning it back on.
Others have paid it, okay.
Payment. And this happened during winter months, so our shut off fee is a little bit more expensive than during the summer months,
Yeah,
because there's some digging involved in frozen ground.
yeah, if we're not giving a reimbursement, you know, on the fees due, I think the other points are kind of negated. You know, by. The paid in full, so we don't need to discuss a payment plan, which they're free to enter into one, it's not like we only get one, right? I mean, people, you can
Yep, we've had,
enter every year if you need to, and that's a couple of trade. Yeah, so I guess if we're looking for a. You don't have to look for a motion, it was discussed and. Yeah,
I'd make the motion if it's needed, but
I guess personally, since it came to the council, I would prefer if you had a motion to deny. Just so we have a response rather than any other, you know, it was just a discussion.
yeah, sorry, I was on this back page, and see on this page, it does say motion to support or motion to deny, so. Yeah, I will entertain if there's a motion to deny the request.
so moved.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we deny the refund of payment and deny the payment plan for the refund of bill.
And the shut off fees, right?
And that has to be said.
No, you can do all three.
Okay, and we leave the shut off fees as the.
Dave, you're okay supporting that?
Yeah.
It has been a motion in support. Favor?
I,
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. 11.5, Walker Drew and Honey proposal for 2024 audit services.
You have to be audited every year, here's your proposal.
We do support for something,
Oh, yes, yep,
and they seem to do a good job.
yes.
I'll make a motion, but it's.
There's been a motion, is there a second to continue with Walker Drew and Honey?
I just don't make a little statement here. I think they do a good job. They know the process and they help find solutions. They're involved in a lot of cities across the range. They've probably seen the problem before, so they can help through it a lot. I encourage the city staff to lean on them as things come up throughout the year. Their help and clarification early is far cheaper and easier than letting the problem grow and having to go back and fix it during audit time. Yeah, they do a good job and I'd support the motion there. The contract for next year.
Yeah, as much as, I don't like going through that long booklet for Tom, because there's, so he condenses it into some great useful information, and, you can tell they look into what they're doing, it's not just a stamped report, I mean, he has very specific items for us, and I appreciate all the work they do. There's been a motion and a second, all those in favor?
I,
11.6, joint powers agreement with the city of Aurora for public safety services.
So, White Lake's budgeted an 8% increase and Aurora budgeted an 11% increase, and so that is reflected in the joint powers agreement. When the joint powers was originally established, it was established based on population, and so the split for revenue for the joint powers was based on population, so White Lakes paid more. We now have about 10 years of data with them, and Aurora is more call heavy, and so Aurora will work on slowly budgeting more than White Lakes does and catching up, so it's eventually a 50-50 split, so that's why you see the differences in percentage increase there.
How long will it take to get those two numbers even?
It'll depend a lot on budgets.
So they're not planning on 10% a year, 11%?
Probably not.
Okay.
That is gonna take like 10 years.
Yeah.
Or so.
Yeah, to even back out, but
Point Lake should enjoy this agreement more, it's 50-50 split, it would be beneficial, I mean, obviously not this one, but if they're moving towards the 50-50. Yeah, for very similar cities, we should be charged equally for the services.
So we were paying more because we had a population. But they seemingly have more calls than us, if I know they wanna do a 50-50 split, I don't know if they have calls.
Right, so, just like if you think about, your taxes go to call all the roads in the city, even if you don't drive on them, you still have the ability to call 911 even if you would never do. And so that's the idea behind the population split. And so everyone in the town still has the ability to call 911, even though people in Aurora may call more. The other thing that skews those statistics a little bit is the hospital. So White Lakes residents enjoy the hospital, but that's technically in Aurora, and so they get called, when they get called to the hospital, it counts as an Aurora call.
I'd say Aurora and Lakes are very close, probably one town affects the other. I think 50-50 is the easy way to split this. Also, the board that oversees the East Range PD is a 50-50 split, so that would be equal pay for equal say in what's going on the board.
right, is there any other questions or comments on the public safety agreement? If not, I need a motion to accept that agreement.
I'll take that motion.
And a motion, is there a second?
So
Is support, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? We are on to 11.7, joint water board, joint powers agreement. I know that was kind of a thicker packet
Yes,
and
I'm gonna read it all.
Yeah.
So if you're buckle in for that.
I did get out my highlighter and a bunch of notes, which as requested, I will email those
Yes,
to you. I won't
yes.
tell you all them now, but
So this is the East Range Joint Waters Board Joint Powers Agreement. And so this is the agreement that Aurora and the township signed, the Joint Water Services. I am requesting, it's in front of you today, so everyone can make comments on it. Please email them to me. I have to have them consolidated and to the Bolton Bank prior to the next meeting between White Lakes and the Joint Powers Board. And so, you can provide like how you would like to see it, you know, if you, obviously, the example I gave is that the first page would need to be changed to Aurora, White Lakes, and the Town of White. So you can provide examples if you'd like, or if you just wanna say, we need to negotiate, you know, clause 3.1 for whatever reason, and whatever agreement comes before the board, you'd be okay. So you can provide me with your thoughts, you can just say, this is an area I think we need to negotiate, whichever you're most comfortable. If you wanna sit down with me and go over the contract, that's totally fine too. Just go ahead and let me know, and I'm not expecting a motion on this or anything tonight, so just informational, if you have any questions, you can let me know.
has that next meeting been scheduled yet? I know you say you want this prior to January 10th.
Yeah, it's the same day as their joint waters board, which is the Wednesday after that, I think.
Okay.
I'd have to look for sure.
All right, so any comments should be sent by January 10th, so we can all get that updated, how that would look. 11.8 Boston Patch and Kearney agreement for 2025.
So this is the agreement for Joel to be the city attorney for 2025. It is a slight increase in cost. And I would recommend you do it.
And as you said, Joel Whitney will now be the new city attorney for us. And otherwise, it looks pretty standard. I didn't see any questions or concerns. Did anyone else have anything?
$100.
They've also been doing for a while too.
Oh, yes, Mike Patchen was the attorney for many, many years.
They seem to do a good job, so I'll make a motion to accept.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Report.
Is that student?
Well, all those in favor? None opposed? Motion carried. Won't be the same without Mitch here, but I'm sure we'll get Joel in there.
I appreciate that, Mayor. But Joel do a good job. He's got a much better sense of humor than I do.
We'll see.
All right.
11.9, cooperative agreement with St. Louis County for County Road 665.
So this is the project for 665. You did engage with an engineer for utilities in the roadway, and this is outlining that St. Louis County will bid out that project and we will pay for it, essentially. I don't have an engineer's estimate yet at this time for you on what that cost will be. But as we discussed, they're going to redo the road. There's no sense in not also doing the utilities underneath it.
That's pretty close to where we get the storm sewer collapse.
Yes, yep, and so your construction projects next year will be the arena lot will be repaved. The 110 corridor will be stripped and the sidewalks, curb and gutter will be taken out and that will be overlaid. Westover Road from Kennedy Memorial to 665 will be torn out completely, so curb to curb, because the storm sewer is 16 feet deep, and so that storm sewer will be replaced. And 665 will be torn out. So it'll be fun down in town.
Yeah, so that's the Westovers by Brian's Body Shop, putting by the liquor store bonds, that whole section.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much of Kennedy Memorial will be done?
I don't know, I do know they are well aware of water removal and what exactly our expectations are around that. They didn't anticipate that they would close the road, they anticipated the flag. So the Kennedy Memorial is a mill and overlay, and so it's the reconstruct is the concrete and the sidewalks. So the street itself is a mill and overlay.
We should have relatively minimal traffic.
Yes, on Kennedy Memorial.
Yeah, part of this is reconstruction of the water main. If we hook up like Aurora, we'd still use things like that. I guess from the discussions we've had with Jay, those are things that need to be done. There's some pretty big one.
Yeah, there's, the last thing you wanna do is if they replace the road, for you to have a main break and then have to dig the brand new road up. And as long as they're in there, you know, there's a cost savings too, because if we were to redo the utilities in there, we would then have to replace the roadway. And so if they already have the roadway open and we can just replace the utilities, there's a pretty significant cost savings for the city there.
And I see in the agreement, it does say that, you know, the county will pay for all the road work, roadway reconstruction, the city pays for the water main and sanitary sewer. So I mean, yeah, that cost is avoided by us at least.
They're planning for a sidewalk at all in Westover?
I don't believe so. Because it's a FEMA project, they don't allow for improvements without us paying for it. And so we would look at restoring to current.
And then 665, were they doing anything with the lobby back there?
We've talked about it. I can't remember for sure what the plan is. I do know that they're making improvements to the sidewalk on Kennedy Memorial. They received a pretty significant safe roadways type grant. And we talked about that last time with the last agreement, about how they're reading the lighting.
And sidewalk would extend all of it really well to past the water tower, is that,
I think to that.
New Hampshire.
well, to that.
Will they disturb the walking trail at all along 665 across through the walk field there? Will that get?
I'm not entirely sure. We did talk about, we were in a meeting where we talked about them resurfacing the senior center and that parking lot there at the same time when their bituminous contractor was in town. So we did have that conversation. I'm not entirely sure about the catwalk.
Keep on our radar.
I think on New Hampshire.
Yes. Yep, so if you remember, they did this project in phases, they replaced the bridges and then they tore up, and it's gravel now. And then this is the second phase of they're putting the bituminous out to the new region.
And the gravel is much better than the old road. Out to a new range. Yeah, I went out there to that old house. I'm like, wow, this is way better than the road that was here before.
Bizarre, they've got a couple of patches that didn't.
Oh,
Probably the elevations were too low
Yeah.
or something.
well, that's all the discussion. Is there a motion to enter into the agreement with St. Louis County?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Motion and support. All those in favor?
I,
None opposed? Motion carried. So new roadways next summer. And parking lots. Will be next, the next meeting, this 27th one, because I have a 5 o'clock meeting for the public forum.
Yes,
in January.
I did not have the public forum set for next year, I do have it on the reorganization resolution. But I wasn't entirely sure if the new council would want to adjust anything about them, so it's just a draft right now.
Okay. There a motion to adjourn the meeting?
so,
I'll second that. Motion, all those in favor?
I.
Aye.
Aye, none opposed, meeting is adjourned.